"What are you doing with my children?" Adam's voice roared across the lawn, his heart thundering as he sprinted toward Evelyn, who stood frozen, drenched, holding one of the babies in her trembling arms. The garden hose still hissed behind her, forgotten. Water dripped from her apron. The other two babies sat in the green tub, confused, their laughter just moments ago now silenced by the sudden storm of his voice. But Adam didn't stop because of the water. He stopped because he saw it. A small crescent-shaped scar just below her collarbone, the exact same scar his late wife had. His voice cracked. "Where did you get that?" And just like that, everything he thought he knew came undone. The wind off the Massachusetts coast carried a quiet chill that morning, brushing over the stone walls of Hammond Castle, perched like a memory on the cliffs of Gloucester. Inside, the hallways were grand, but hollow, silent despite the presence of life. Adam MacDonald, 38, billionaire, widower, father of 3. No one envied him. Sure, from the outside he had it all: tech empire, luxury cars, private estate. But inside, in the quiet of Hammond Castle, Adam lived with something that money couldn't fix: grief. It had been 11 months since Rachel, his wife, died during childbirth. She had gone into labor early. Complications. The doctors said they tried. But in the end, Adam left the hospital with 3 crying babies, and a silence that screamed louder than anything. Since then, he hadn't been the same. He hired help: nannies, nurses, night staff, day staff. They all quit. Some said the babies cried too much. Some said the house felt cursed. Adam didn't argue. He barely spoke at all. He moved like a man underwater. He went through the motions, fed his kids, bathed them when he remembered, paid people to smile for them. But his children didn't laugh. They didn't coo. They just existed. Until Evelyn came. Evelyn Thomas didn't come from money. She came from Boston's South Side, where you learn to work early and love hard. She was hired through an agency to be just a maid: laundry, floors, dusting. No baby duties, no emotional labor. But when she passed the nursery that first week and heard all 3 babies crying, non-stop, breathless cries, something inside her broke. She stepped in. She didn't ask for permission. She just picked one up. And they stopped. By the end of the 2nd week, Evelyn was changing diapers. By the 3rd, she was singing lullabies. By the 4th, she was staying late, unpaid. She had a warmth the babies leaned into, a rhythm, a kind of love that felt familiar, even to them. And Adam, he noticed, not at first, but something shifted. The house felt less empty, and the triplets, Aidan, Ava, and Andrew, they started to smile. One morning, Adam stepped out to take a business call. He paced across the back patio, looking out toward the garden. The sun was climbing, warm against the grass. He was mid-sentence when he froze. There, on the lawn, was Evelyn. She had filled a green storage tub with warm water. The triplets were inside it, naked and giggling. Evelyn held a hose above them, letting the water sprinkle gently over their heads. She was laughing, laughing. Not the polite, distant laugh of a housemaid, but the full, belly-deep laugh of someone who loved them. And they laughed back. Adam's phone slipped from his ear. It had been months since he heard that sound. Laughter, joy, his children, alive. He stepped forward, breath caught in his chest, and that moment, the one we started with, was about to happen. But we're not there yet. This is how it began. "What are you doing with my children?" His voice cut through the laughter like a blade. Evelyn froze, her hand mid-air, the garden hose still trickling a soft stream of water. One of the babies squealed, confused by the sudden tension. The others looked around, startled. The joy of moments ago had vanished, replaced by silence thick enough to choke on. Evelyn turned slowly. Adam stood a few yards away, fists clenched, breath short, like he'd just run a marathon. His eyes weren't angry, but they were wild, panicked, scared even. She had never seen him like this. "Mr. MacDonald," she began, but her voice faltered. Then he saw it. Not her face, not the babies. her collarbone. The edge of her apron had slipped, and there, just above her heart, was a small, crescent-shaped scar. Barely visible, but unforgettable. The same scar Rachel had. Adam took a step forward, his voice dropping. "Where did you get that?" Evelyn blinked, confused. She looked down at her chest, then back at him. "What scar?" Adam didn't answer. His mind raced. Flashes of Rachel's hospital stays, her body, her birthmarks. That scar. The one just like that. She was born with it. A genetic anomaly, they'd once joked. Coincidence? Or something more? The babies began to whimper. One of them reached for Evelyn's face, tugging at her earring. She gently shifted the child on her hip and stepped back, shielding them. Not out of fear, but instinct. Adam caught it. That motherly reflex. That protectiveness. That love. It wasn't fake. He wasn't angry anymore. Just lost. I didn't mean to yell," he muttered, dragging a hand through his hair. I didn't expect." "To see a maid bathing your children?" Evelyn asked, calm but edged. "Or to see them happy for once?" Ouch. Her words hit him square in the gut, but she didn't say them to wound him. She said them because someone had to. There was a long silence. The wind moved softly through the hedges. The hose hissed on the grass. "I wasn't trying to overstep," she said, quieter now. "They needed sunlight, and joy, and a reason to laugh. I thought maybe a bath outside would feel different. Less cold." Adam exhaled slowly. He looked at his children, wet, messy, but smiling. Then at Evelyn, steady, firm, but not apologetic. He could have fired her, told her to go, reasserted control. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the scar. Maybe it was the way Ava held her finger. Maybe it was the way the air felt different when she was around. "I'll have the housekeeper prepare towels," he said, voice low. He turned and walked back toward the house, leaving Evelyn standing there, the babies wriggling in the tub, the moment suspended between tension and something unspoken. Inside, Adam didn't return to his call. He stood by the window for 20 minutes, just watching her lift the babies one by one, wrap them in clean white towels, kiss their foreheads, and carry them inside. No nanny had ever done that, not like that, and for the first time since Rachel died, he felt something unfamiliar. Hope. At this point, if you were Adam, would you follow your pride or follow your heart? Tell us what you would have done in the comments. Some of you might surprise yourselves. If you're still watching this, maybe it's because a part of you feels this too. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you've loved someone you weren't supposed to. Or maybe, just like Adam and Evelyn, you know what it's like to carry something heavy in silence. So don't just scroll past. Subscribe. The morning after the garden incident, Hammond Castle returned to its usual stillness. The kind of quiet that felt more like a warning than peace. Evelyn stood in the kitchen, staring into a pot of boiling water. Her hands were steady, but her thoughts weren't. She could still hear his voice. "What are you doing with my children?" The way he looked at her, shocked like she'd crossed some sacred line. But more than that, it was the way he looked when he saw the scar. Why did that scar shake him so badly? She pulled the collar of her blouse tighter, suddenly aware of every scar, every mark that had ever made her different. She wasn't ashamed of them, but she wasn't used to being seen. Upstairs, Adam sat at his desk, motionless. He'd opened his laptop to finish a proposal, one of the biggest partnerships of the year, but his eyes kept drifting to the nursery monitor. The triplets were sleeping, peacefully. Not because of him, because of her. He hated how it felt, this creeping sense that someone else could give his children something he couldn't, that a stranger, a maid, had done more to make them smile in 3 weeks than he had in almost a year. But it wasn't just guilt, it was fear. Because for a split second, yesterday, he didn't see a maid. He saw a mother. They didn't speak that day, not over breakfast, not in the halls, not even passing in the staircase. Just nods. Silent nods, like two people pretending nothing had happened, even though everything had. Evelyn kept her distance. She didn't want to lose the job, or make anything messier than it already felt. She told herself she was okay with it, that it wasn't her place to feel anything. But that night, when she walked past the nursery and found the door already shut, lights off, no sounds, she felt it. Adam had put the children to bed. Without her. And she told herself it didn't matter. But it did. Inside the nursery, Adam sat beside Ava's crib. His arms were tired from rocking her. His shirt was wet from Andrew's spilled formula. Aiden had screamed for nearly 20 minutes. They didn't respond to him the way they responded to her. They didn't laugh the same. Didn't melt into his chest the way they did with Evelyn. He wasn't enough, not yet. He pressed his forehead against the edge of the crib and whispered, "I'm trying. God, I'm really trying." The next morning, Evelyn found a note outside her door. Simple white paper folded clean. "Thank you for yesterday. I didn't say it when I should have. I'm still learning how to be human again. Adam." She read it twice, then again. And in that quiet space between duty and emotion, something inside her softened. That evening, when they passed in the hall, Adam met her eyes. She smiled, just a little, and this time, he smiled back. Not a polite smile, a real one. The kind that hurts a little because it means something is waking up inside you. They were both still resisting, still trying to make sense of what was changing, still telling themselves, no, not this, not now. But deep down, the walls were beginning to crack, and love was leaking through. The storm rolled in on a Thursday. By late afternoon, the wind off the Massachusetts coast had picked up, rattling the windows of Hammond Castle. The sky turned heavy and dark, clouds pressing low against the Atlantic like a secret too big to hold. Evelyn was folding laundry in the back room when she heard the thunder crack, loud enough to shake the glass. Then the power went out. Within seconds, the castle turned eerily quiet. No lights, no baby monitors, no heat. The generators usually kicked in, but this time, nothing. She grabbed a flashlight from the utility drawer and ran upstairs, heart pounding. Halfway to the nursery, she nearly collided with Adam, flashlight in hand, sleeves rolled up, tension written across his face. Their eyes met. Neither said anything. Just, "You go, I go." They reached the nursery together. The triplets were crying, sensitive to sound, the dark, and the shift in routine. Without speaking, Evelyn moved to Aiden while Adam lifted Ava. She reached for Andrew. Instinct. And in that small, chaotic moment, they were An hour later, the babies were asleep in the master suite, where Adam had moved them temporarily for warmth. Candles flickered, blankets were layered across the floor. The room felt strangely cozy, despite the chaos. Adam sat against the fireplace wall, holding a bottle in one hand, a flashlight in the other. Evelyn sat across from him, arms wrapped around her knees. It had been a long time since either of them had stopped moving long enough to just breathe. He spoke first. "Power should be back by morning." She nodded. "They're warm. That's what matters." Silence stretched, but it wasn't the awkward kind. It was the kind that says, "You're here. I see you." He looked at her carefully, the way she moved, the way she instinctively checked the blankets, the way Andrew slept peacefully against her shoulder like he belonged there. "You know, they don't sleep like that with anyone else," he said softly. Evelyn smiled without looking up. "Maybe they just know I won't leave." The words landed heavy. Adam felt them. Deep. Another thunderclap shook the window. Without thinking, Evelyn flinched. Adam noticed. "You okay?" She nodded. "Just hate thunder. Brings back things I don't want to remember." He didn't press. He just said, "Yeah, I get that." And she believed him, because for once he wasn't speaking like a billionaire. He was speaking like a man with history, a man with pain. Minutes passed. The storm outside began to quiet, but something else inside had begun to stir, a kind of emotional warmth, a proximity not measured by distance, but by vulnerability. They were two broken people, sitting across from each other, wrapped in candlelight and shared silence. And for the first time, neither of them felt alone. The storm had passed by morning, but something had settled in its place. A stillness, not empty, but heavy, like something unspoken had decided to stay. Adam stood by the master suite window, sipping black coffee as the sun cracked through the clouds. Downstairs, Evelyn was in the kitchen, humming softly, swaying gently with Ava in her arms. The image didn't fit the title Maid, it fit something else, and that's what terrified him. Later that afternoon, Adam walked into the library, a room he hadn't touched since Rachel died. He rarely came here anymore. It was her space, her books. Her handwriting still marked the margins of old poetry collections. He only came in today because he couldn't stop thinking about that scar, the one Evelyn had, and the one Rachel was born with. Coincidence? He didn't believe in those anymore. He opened a drawer, pulled out a photo album Rachel used to keep. Inside were hospital records, ultrasounds, letters she wrote during her pregnancy that he never knew she'd written, and then a name. Baby girl. Evelyn Rachel Thomas. He stared at the page. Everything inside him went still. That evening, Evelyn was folding clothes in the laundry room when Adam appeared at the door. He didn't knock. He just stood there holding the photo album, his face unreadable. "Is there something you want to tell me?" he asked quietly. Evelyn froze. Her hands dropped the towel. She turned slowly, eyes meeting his. "You found it, didn't you?" Adam nodded. Silence. Then Evelyn sat down on the bench across from the dryer, and for the first time since she arrived, let herself be seen. "I was born in the same hospital as Rachel," she began. "Same year, same wing. My mother gave me up that night. No name, no family. Just a birthmark and a number." Adam didn't speak. "I grew up in the system, bounced between homes, learned early that people don't keep what they didn't ask for." She looked away, blinking hard. "I never knew about Rachel until I came here. I never knew about the scar. I didn't come here to steal anything, or lie. I just needed the job." Adam's voice was low. "Why didn't you say something?" "Because I didn't want to be another story you felt sorry for. I didn't want the kids to love me because of pity. I wanted them to love me because I earned it." Adam stepped forward, slower now. "You did." Those two words caught her breath. She didn't expect kindness, not from him. In that moment, something raw passed between them. Not romance, not forgiveness, just truth. And truth is where healing begins. What would you do if you discovered someone you trusted was connected to your past in a way you never imagined? Would you push them away or pull them closer? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The next day came soft and quiet. The wind had calmed. The ocean outside Hammond Castle returned to its slow rhythm, as if even the world had exhaled. Evelyn was in the sunroom with the triplets, Aidan stacking blocks, Ava chewing on a plastic spoon, Andrew curled in her lap, half asleep. There was music playing, soft jazz, the kind Rachel used to love, the kind Adam hadn't been able to listen to since her funeral. But now it didn't hurt. Now, somehow, it felt like home. Adam leaned against the doorway, watching Evelyn hum along as she reached over and gently tickled Aidan's belly. The boy shrieked with joy, and for the first time, Adam smiled without hesitation. "You're good with them," he said quietly. Evelyn looked up, startled. Then she smiled back. "They're easy to love." Her eyes held something deeper than the words. A truth earned, not inherited. Adam stepped into the room, sat across from her on the floor. The sunlight streamed between them like a curtain lifted. "I used to think I'd be a great dad," he said, "back when Rachel was still here." Evelyn listened. "But when she died, I stopped knowing who I was. The kids became a reminder of everything I lost. I didn't know how to look at them without seeing her." "And now," she asked, He looked over at Ava, who had crawled into Evelyn's lap. "Now, I see you too." Silence stretched between them again, but this time it was warm, not heavy. Then Evelyn laughed, a sudden, genuine laugh that took even her by surprise. "What?" Adam asked, curious. She shook her head. "You, sitting on the floor in your $10,000 suit, with spit up on your collar." Adam looked down, groaned. "I knew I felt something wet." They both laughed, really laughed. The kind of laugh you only get when walls fall completely. He leaned back on his palms, watching her. "You know, I don't think I've laughed like this since and before." "Before everything fell apart?" she finished gently. He nodded, then looked at her directly. "You brought something back into this house, Evelyn. Not just help or care, but life." She bit her lip, eyes wet. "You make it sound like I saved you." Adam's voice dropped. "Maybe you did." In that moment, the space between them felt delicate. Not romantic. Not yet. But charged. Evelyn placed a hand over Andrew's heart, felt it beating steady against her palm. "I didn't mean to get attached," she whispered. "I came here for the paycheck. I didn't think—" "Neither did I," Adam said. He looked down at his hands. "But here we are." For the first time since Rachel's death, the weight in the room had lifted, and in its place was something else. The bond between them had started to feel like a thread, thin but warm, stretching quietly between every shared look, every late-night feeding. Every morning, Evelyn spent singing softly in the kitchen, while Adam lingered just outside the door, listening. For once, Hammond Castle didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like the beginning of something. But beginnings often come just before something breaks. It started with a phone call. A call Evelyn wasn't meant to overhear. She was passing Adam's office when she paused, not to eavesdrop, but because she heard her name. Yes, her background checks out. No criminal record, no known affiliations. She's clean. A pause. "Yes, I'm sure. She's just the maid." Just the maid. Her heart dropped. She didn't wait to hear the rest. She turned on her heel and walked away, but the words burned in her chest like betrayal. After everything, after the feedings, the night shifts, the scar, the truth. She thought they'd seen each other. For real. She thought maybe she wasn't just the help anymore, but to him. That's all she ever was. That night, she was quiet during dinner. Adam noticed. "You okay?" She nodded, but her eyes didn't meet his, and for the first time in weeks. She didn't sing to the babies. She didn't linger. She did her job, and left. He found her in the garden the next morning, alone. The babies were with the backup nanny. Evelyn was just sitting, not folding, not cleaning, not cooking, just still. "About yesterday," he began. She didn't turn around. "So I'm clean," she said softly. "Just the maid." His breath caught. "Evelyn, don't. Please, I get it." She finally turned. "You were just protecting your children, making sure the black girl with a scar wasn't a threat." He flinched. "It wasn't like that." "Wasn't it?" Her voice cracked, and for the first time, she looked hurt. Not angry. Hurt. "I opened my life to you. I opened my wounds. I told you where I came from. I told you everything." A pause. "But you still couldn't trust me." Adam stepped closer, desperate now. "I do trust you. I just didn't know how to handle what I was feeling." "What were you feeling, Adam?" She looked him in the eye. "Because I was feeling everything, and now I feel like a fool." He couldn't respond. The words just wouldn't come. "That's what I thought," she whispered. She turned and walked away. This time he didn't stop her, and the sound of her footsteps echoing through the castle halls was the loudest thing he'd heard in months. That night Adam stood in the nursery holding a crying Andrew. The boy reached out toward the door, toward the hallway, toward her, but she wasn't coming back. He sank into the rocking chair, eyes wet. "I broke it, didn't I?" He wasn't asking the baby. He was asking himself. 2 days passed, not a word. Evelyn stayed in her room when she wasn't working. She clocked in, did her tasks, avoided the nursery. She no longer sang, no longer smiled. It wasn't cold, it was distant, professional. Like everything they had built had been folded up and shelved. And maybe it had. Adam felt the shift, like a weight on his chest. He wanted to speak to her, apologize, explain. Say it wasn't about race or class or her. Say it was about him, his fear, his grief, his paralysis. But the words always came too late. So instead he watched her slip in and out of rooms like a ghost, and said nothing, because pride is a louder voice than regret, until the third night. The triplets wouldn't sleep. Nothing worked, not lullabies, not bottles, not even the sound machine. They were crying, not hungry, not tired, just aching for something or someone. He knew who. He paced the nursery, helpless, angry at himself, angry at how fragile everything had become. He picked up Ava, trying to soothe her, but she kept squirming toward the hallway, toward Evelyn, just like Andrew had. He sat in the rocker, eyes closed, heart pounding, and then he stood. He walked down the hall, stopped outside her door. He raised his hand to knock, then dropped it. What do I even say? He turned to leave, then turned back, and knocked. Evelyn opened the door a few seconds later, wearing a plain shirt, no apron, eyes tired. She looked at him, said nothing. He swallowed hard. They're crying, he said softly. I don't know how to comfort them. Still, she said nothing, so he kept going. But I think it's not just them who misses you. She blinked. I was wrong, he continued. About everything. About you. About what you mean to this family. A pause. I saw the scar and thought of Rachel. But what scared me was how much more I see you now. You scare me, Evelyn, because I care, and because you make me believe I could love again. The words hung between them, raw, unedited, true. Evelyn stepped forward just a little. Why now? She whispered. Because losing you felt worse than losing control, he said. And I've been living in control for too long. Her lips trembled. You hurt me. I know. And I can't undo that. But I can show you, if you'll let me, how much you changed me. He took a step closer. Will you come back? She looked at him, this billionaire who had once been a fortress of silence, now open, bare, asking for her. And in her heart, despite everything, she still felt it, the bond, the love. She exhaled. I'm not coming back as just the maid. He nodded slowly. I don't want you to. A beat, then, I want you as part of this family. And just like that, a choice was made. Not with a kiss, not with a dramatic gesture, but with a truth spoken at the exact right moment. It had been 1 week since Evelyn opened the door, since Adam told her the truth, since something broken began to heal. The house was different now. The silence was gone, replaced by little footsteps, squeals of laughter, and Evelyn's humming filling the hallways. The triplets were thriving. Andrew had started clapping. Ava danced when music played. Aidan followed Evelyn like a shadow, arms always reaching up. And Adam? He was present, laughing, feeding them, changing diapers, terribly, but trying. Learning how to be the father he never believed he could be, all because of her. That morning the sun was out, warm, gentle, exactly like the day everything changed. Adam stepped out into the backyard with 3 bottles in hand, expecting to see Evelyn in the garden or folding laundry near the patio. But he heard something else, splashing. He turned the corner and froze. There she was, Evelyn, in her apron, laughing so hard she had to lean against the tub. And inside it, the triplets, all 3, covered in bubbles, water flying everywhere, just like before. Time froze, because this was the exact moment from before, the one that shattered everything, the one where he yelled, "What are you doing with my children?" Only this time, his heart didn't race with fear, it swelled with gratitude. He stepped forward slowly. Evelyn looked up and saw him, hair wet, holding Ava with one hand, her face glowing with peace. She smiled. "I thought they could use another garden bath." "So could I," he said, kneeling beside her. She laughed, handing him a small cup. "You want to help?" He dipped the cup into the suds and poured it gently over Andrew's back. "I don't want to help," he whispered. "I want this. Every day." Evelyn looked at him, eyes searching. "What are you saying, Adam?" "I'm saying I love you. I'm saying you brought my children back to life, and me with them. And if you're willing, I don't want you to be our maid anymore. I want you to be our home." Tears slipped down her cheek, silent and soft. The babies squealed. The sun hit the water just right. It felt like a movie. Only this time, it was theirs. Later that night, Evelyn tucked the triplets into bed. She kissed each forehead, turned off the light. Adam stood behind her, hand brushing gently against hers as they stepped into the hallway. The castle felt warm, lived in, real, not perfect, but theirs, and in the entryway beside Rachel's old bookshelf sat a new photo, all 5 of them. Together, Evelyn holding Ava, Adam holding Evelyn, the triplets mid-laugh, a family, unexpected, untraditional, unbreakable, and just like that, what began with a scar ended with a promise, not to forget the past, but to write a new future together. Do you believe love can be born from loss, that grief can give way to grace? If this story touched you, even a little, take 1 second, subscribe, because here we don't just tell stories, we find the ones hiding in your heart. Share your story in the comments, someone out there needs it.